Hey guys, welcome to another video. My name is Joe, and in this video I'm going to be showing you guys how to create this lantern right here. An ancient lantern, something that is a staple in Nigerian homes. I think this is maybe early 2000s, 2003, 5, 2006-ish. I don't know if this is still in Nigerian homes, but we are going to be modeling from scratch today. I have references on this side, and I'm going to import what we're going to use as a blueprint or as a background to trace out the model. A feedback I got from my videos recently was the fact that my tutorials are not necessarily easy to follow. They are not like essentially easy to follow. So something I want to do now is try to call out my steps a bit more, maybe move a bit slower, and hopefully it's a bit more digestible for you guys. So what I'm going to do first is clear out the scene. I'm going to select the entire scene with A and X to clear out the entire scene. And what I'm going to do next is bring in my reference. So I'm going to Shift A, that's to add an object to the scene. I'm going to bring in our reference on the desktop. I have it screenshotted right here. So we already have that. And what I'm going to do next is to reset the rotation and reset the position in the 3D space. So what I did to reset the rotation was Alt R. I think maybe for my next video, I'll probably have the screencast keys so that you can see what I'm pressing. I'm going to use Alt R to reset the rotation, and I'm going to rotate on the X-axis and come bang to the front view. So what I want to do first is to place this in such a way that whatever is on the left is also on the right. So just essentially kind of make this lantern balance in the scene. So I'm going to bring this up to the ground plane right here. And what I want to do is to make sure that the amount of space I have here is essentially the same as what I have here. So when I'm modeling, I don't have any issues with the reference not fitting in at some point and stuff like that. So I'm going to scale this up, and once you start touching here, I want to make sure it's touching the other side too. So I think this is okay. I'm going to scale this, and this is good. So we have this. And I'm going to make sure that applies for the top part also. If I scale down here, I will have in the same thing, not essentially the same thing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to rotate from this point right here, from the 3D cursor. So I'm going to change my favorite point to the 3D cursor, and I'm going to rotate this slightly from that point. So we have equal spacing on this side and this side, maybe to this side a little bit. So that's cool. I'm going to move this up a bit again and move to the bounding box and scale this, and I think we are cool. This is nice on all sides. So we're going to start modeling right now. I'm going to move out of the orthographic view and GY, move this back into the white space. Then I will come here to our data setting for this image reference that we brought in, turn on opacity and bring that down to, say, let's do 0.6, and let's start modeling essentially. So I'm going to start from the base and work my way to the top. I'm going to bring in a cylinder. I think the cylinder essentially is a 32-sided cylinder, and I think that's okay. I think we can start with that. So I'm going to scale this down on the Z-axis just like so, and scale it on every other axis apart from the Z-axis. So what I did there was scale, but when I click on the scale button on the S key, I would Shift Z so that it locks that to just the Z, locks that to just the X and Y axis rather. So I have that. I'm going to come out of that transparency view, and I think it's pretty much okay for me to start. I'm going to move this down a little bit, and what I want to do is just start tracing out the shape. So we have this. I'm going to come to the front view, maybe select all of it, scale, select this right here, and I can ES just like so, and I can EZ just like so. So we have that. What I want to do is just to make sure I have the right proportion for this thing. So I'm going to bring this down a little bit to this point right here, and this roll up a little bit. So we have something that works right now. So I'm going to scale this down just like so, and to create this bulge right here, I'm going to bring in an edge loop right here. So with Shift R, I can bring in an edge loop to that point. So we have that. I can select all of this and easy all the way to the top like so. So we have got it to this point right here, and I know that I can come out of this view, select this face right here, and I can set basically. So I'm going to insert this and extrude, but my insert is a little too much, so I'm going to scale it up a little bit because I want it to extrude this space right here. So this space right here I want to extrude out, so I can easy just like so, and we have that done. I'm going to GZ a little bit. So that is cool. What I want to do next is now extrude this remaining length all the way to this point right here. So this is cool. I'm going to scale this down, and what we need to do next is achieve this curve right here. So we can just bring in an edge loop, scale it out just like so, and I can just bevel this just like so. Okay, this is the basic shape. I think what I want to do first is to start defining the entire shape and start adding edge loop so that I don't go too far into it and start struggling with edge loops and stuff. So I can just start adding holding loops, like right here. I need holding loops here. I need a holding loop here. I think I need a holding loop right here, and I need one right here. So we're just going to bevel this slightly, but we see that, let me show you. Once I bevel, you see that the bevel is not working properly, and that's because we didn't apply scale. So I'm going to Control A and apply my scale. And when I go back and do the bevel again, you see that we have proper bevels. So one part that I didn't add to the bevel is this. So I'm going to include that and just give a slight bevel so that I know now that I add a subdivision, our subdivision is going to work. The only that it's not working the way I want. So we're going to add a bevel to this part, and this part is going to be, let me come to the front view so you see why we added a bigger bevel to this part. So this part right here is this curve on this side, essentially this curve on this side. So it's supposed to be a bigger bevel. That is why this one's bevel it's kind of different. So I'm going to do that bevel again so I can get it accurately, and we'll just bevel slightly. So this is cool and nice. I like the progress so far. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to extrude a little bit on the Z-axis. Let me turn off the subdivision that I have on. I'm going to ES, extrude on the surface, and then I'll extrude one more time just like so. So I can scale this down, and what I'll do next is just bevel this entire thing. But we see that it's clipping into each other. In order to clamp that, we can just press the letter C, and we have clamped that bevel. I'm just going to scale this up a little, just like so. What I want to do first is select more. So I'm going to click more and scale on every axis apart from this axis. So I'm going to select this now and just bevel. So this is dope. I like this. Pretty much getting us to where we need to go to. So I'm going to, so what I did just now was, okay, initially our shading was flat so we could see all our chords and all of that. So what I want to do for next is shade auto smooth, and what this adds is shade smooth, but then it also adds a modifier to this, and that's the smooth by angle. We don't want 30 degrees, we want 60, and we have something that looks decent at least. So what I'm noticing is that this curve right here, it's not proper. So I'm going to come all the way to the front view right here, select this loop. I'm going to scale it a little bit, and I'm going to bevel. So now we have something that works for this angle right here. So that is pretty good. What I want to do now is, maybe I need holding loops on this side to make it look good. So I want to build the remaining part of this. In order to build this ground plate right here that holds the glass, I would need to select this and shape BZ, just like so, and I will separate that selection. So we have that selection as a separate mesh right now. I'm going to set origin to geometry so that whatever scaling and rotation we need is going to be at the right point where we need it to. So I'm going to scale this down and GZ just like so. And what I want to do next now is EZ, just like so. So we have that. I'm going to GZ a little bit, and for the face down, we are going to fill that face. And from what I can see from this view right here, we would see that this is more like it's scaled out a little bit like so, and there is an extrusion in. Yep. And from this we can extrude on the Z axis, scale this, and we can ES along the surface, scale, and we can EZ just like so. So let's see what this shape looks like. I think this is pretty much it, except there's an inset here that goes in to accommodate this burner top right here. I think this burner, something I can just do to it to add a little more detail. You see that there's a slight profile that it has at the side. So I'm just going to add this GG just like so, then add another right here. I'm going to add an edge loop to this side and just scale just like so. So we have this pretty much good with the results. I'm just going to get those edges and add supporting loops to them. So we're just going to select these edges right here. I think this included, and this down here, and we're going to bevel just like so. Okay, maybe that bevel is a little too much, so I'm just going to make that bevel slight. So this is pretty much, this is good for now. What I can do next is I just want to add more supporting loops to this. I want to now start building, I would like to insert this glass, and then I would get the threading, the support wires around it. So in order to get the glass, I'm going to borrow one of the edge loop that we just created and P to separate that selection. What I want to do next is remove all of this modifier we have, and with this I can GZ, make sure it's inserted properly into this casing. So we can scale this in just like so, and from the front view I can E just like so, easy. I can E all the way to the top right here, and we know that we have that looping. So for this now, I can now start bringing in support loops that would help form the shape. So I can scale this, bring this down here, scale this just like so. I can GG and scale this, and I think we pretty much have the shape of the glass, except I want to add a subdivision to it and see how that is working. So we need a few adjustments to this. What I can do first is to scale. This up just like so, and I will select this loop right here and scale this. So right here I can easy once and easy again. So with this I can just support this loop right here, and for this loop right here I can just bevel. So I think we pretty much have the glass. I can shade that smooth, and that is looking good. So next thing I want to do now is to get this shape. So in order to get this shape, I would need to select this base right here and kind of estimate where I think it's going to start from. From the picture, I think, or from our reference, I think that is going to start from here. So what I want to do first is I'm going to let's add in a cube to that point so we can mark that spot and see where it starts in relation to the reference. I think this is pretty much a good spot. So I'm going to increase that cube, go to my edit mode, and what I want to do now is press M, and all of those vertices I want to merge to the center. So with this vertex, we can trace out our wire support. and I can EX just like so to this point. And I think this is pretty much good. What I want to do before I start beveling is I want to come to the X view and bring this out to the outer part of the glass. So I know that when I start beveling and making it round, it fits properly. So I want to add some subdivision and add one more to this side, and I can start bringing it out of the glass just like so and just like so. So right here I can just add that subdivision to it, and I see it's working fine. Only I want this to be a little more close to the glass, just like so. So right here we're going to bring this out on the Z-axis and this out on the Z-axis, just so we have the wire going around the glass at a very nice distance. And then this is good. What I want to do next is extrude this on the Y just a little to this side, and maybe we'll go to the Z and make sure it's not touching the glass. That's cool. We can also come to the front Y axis and see if it follows nicely. It does. However, this needs to be up a little bit. So this is cool. I can come to the front view right here, and what I want to do is mirror this to the other side. How do I solve this? So in order to solve this and mirror successfully, I want to bring our 3D cursor to the center of the scene. So I can Shift C and we have the 3D cursor right at the center of the scene, and I can right click this and bring our origin to 3D cursor. So what we're going to do now is Shift X and we can mirror this to the other side. What I'm going to do is increase my subdivision by 1, and this is smooth. I'm going to apply that subdivision and convert this to a curve. So this is cool. I'm going to go to the curve and add some depth to this. Let's see what we are doing. So I added some depth to this and I'm going to shade smooth right here. So this is cool. I just want to take these two edges and tuck them in, but I want to see how it's tucked in right here. So it's tucked in to the side. So what we can do is select this, and I can select this entire loop right here, G, and I can extrude and extrude in also. So this solves it. So I like what that is looking like. However, we probably need to add a bevel right here, just at this point. So I'm going to add a bevel just like so and create this inset. So we're just going to insert once and extrude along normals, just like so. So we can GZ and hide this behind there. So this is cool. I'm going to mirror this to the other side so we don't have to do that twice. Now this figure that we have created right here, I'm going to duplicate it. So I can Shift D, bring that in and rotate 180 degrees, and we have the guard for this. Perfect. So what I want to do next is I want to create the remaining part of this lantern. So I would select the loop from this side, duplicate it on the Z axis, P to separate that selection, and once I have that selection now, I would probably set origin to geometry and GZ right here. So with this, I can scale this like so. Then I can ES, bring that selection down on the Z axis because it looks like there's a dip right here. So you'd see that there's a dip right here. So I'm going to bring down on the Z axis a little bit, scale this, and I can easy all the way to the top, just like so. But for this, it looks like there is a bevel to it, so it's rounded off a little bit. So that's cool. I'm going to select this and easy, just like so, and I can scale this just like so. So for this, I just want to just bevel this part, and right here, I'm going to easy all the way in, just like so. So for this part that have holes, I want to make a selection right here and just I'm going to select this entire loop and I'm going to go to select and check out the select. So the check out the select is going to help me make this selection. This looks like 6. So I want this selected to be more and selected to the 1. So let's see what this looks like. How many is this? This is 2, 2, this is 5. I want to bring this down to 3. 3 is great, but it's not distributed properly. So I think we're going to go with this. And what I want to do is insert lightly and then delete that face. So now I think the subdivision now is working to make that whole perfect. And I'm going to select this just like so. And I'm going to bevel this part like so. So we have the perfect top that is holding the glass from the top part. Only that the glass is clipping on this side. So I'm going to select this and GZ and just bring that in just like so. I will do that selection again, G, bring that in. So that is great. So I want to do this part right here and I'm going to separate that selection just like so. And with this, I'm going to scale just like so. So I can extrude on the Z-axis, scale this down, and I can turn on my transparency. So I can bring that in GZ just like so. And with this, I can easy bring this all the way to the top. However, I feel like this should be scaled in a little bit more and I can easy all the way to the top right here. So I can ES and fill that face. Now I can come out of that view. I can start creating this bulge right here. So for this, I want to create an edge loop here and then scale just like so. And I can bevel just like so. So with this, I can bring this on the Z-axis, select this edge loop and then bevel. So this is cool. I can bring this and just tighten up these points, tighten this up right here, and I can shade smooth. I think we have a perfect shape, except this needs to be a sharp edge, so I can just bevel this part. So this is cool, this is working. I think we are right here. And for this top part, it looks like this object right here is separate from this. So I want to create a dip right here. I can E and E again and E, just bring this in. And with this, I can separate the selection P and make that selection just like so. And I can easy and easy again. So I can ES, let's bring that in. And for this right here, I can just extrude along the normals, just like so. I can R and scale this, and we have this shape on the top part. I'm looking at this and it looks like it's too rounded. So what I can do to fix that is probably do that extrusion again. So I can move out of this view right here, select all of this and delete those vertices. I can extrude this, scale this in, and easy ones is easy again and fill that face. So we can select this edge and just bevel. And this right here is what we have to be careful with. And I can just bevel this slightly. For this right here, it looks like I'm going to isolate this, select this face, delete this face, and what I want to do is fix this right here. So I can select more, Shift R to select that more, and I can bring back every object and just scale this on all axes except the Z, and I think this clamps in better. So this is great. I'm going to go on to modeling this part. I can select this loop right here. And with this as a separate selection, I can easy, just like so, but I can select all of it and scale so that it fits in properly. And when we scale, we see that there's a gap down here. So I can ES to cover that gap. just like so. Looks like we have a double selection here, so I can select all M, merge by distance, and I can ES, or just fill. Let's just fill. There's a problem here, and looks like I think we're going to try the normals. So we're going to recalculate normals and try that again. ES, so this is perfect. So the problem that we're having just now was a normals problem. So when weird things like that happens to your mesh, two things you can try: merge all vertices by distance, and then something else you can try also is flip the normals, recalculate the normals. And what I mean by recalculate the normals, there are certain meshes that if you turn on the face orientation, you discover that the blue part, that is the normals part that's supposed to be facing outward, it is not facing outward. This part might be red at some point, so that's why it's good to recalculate normals from time to time. So I'm going to turn off this and get back to our task for the day. So we have that. I'm going to select this edge loop right here and GZ all the way to the top, and we want to start creating this cage or this air space right here, something that would help with bringing in oxygen for the fire to keep burning and sending air in and out of the lantern. So I can keep this right here, and for this part I can select all of these faces and just delete them basically. So I can delete these faces, select these faces right here, these faces, and delete. And what this has done now is to create that air space, that air gap. And now I can select all of this and GZ just like so. So right now, what I can do is select this edge loop, duplicate P, separate that selection and GZ right here. And I can scale, but it's scaling from a weird position. So I'm going to bring the origin point to the geometry. So I would scale this up just like so. And GZ. And what I can do now is extrude on the Z axis. Z, I can ES and EZ. So this is working. So what I can do now is ES and I can GZ, scale this in, GZ just like so. So right here we have a bump. I'm going to bevel that part. And for this part, I'm going to GZ. So this is cool. Only that for it to have the definition that we intended this to have, we're going to have to start adding some holding bevels, just like so. So our subdivision is supposed to give this some definition. What I can do to this part right here is also add a bevel. This part, add a bevel also. So this is coming together nicely. However, the top part needs to be closed, so I will just F to fill that. However, it's showing some artifacts, so I'm going to insert, and this is cool. So what I can do now is to bring cursor to this selection right here. I can bring in a cylinder, scale that, rotate by 90, and I can bring this to this point right here and scale on the x-axis just like so. So in order to create this space where the wire is going to pass, I'm going to select faces, insert, and with our looped tool on in our preferences, if you want to turn that on, come to effect, edit rather, go to preference and then search for loop tool, turn that on, and you should have this function. So I can right click and come to bridge, and I've bridged that edge loop. What I can do is probably, let's just move it manually. Shift DX, and we have it on this side. So what I can do next now is bring in a cube. Again, I'm going to merge all vertices to the center, and we can bring G to this side. Extrude right here, extrude. I can extrude to this point, extrude, 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 all the way right here, extrude. I don't know why my mirror is not working, so I don't think I'll be using the hard ups modifier. So let me just draw the wire myself. So we have this shape. I'm going to add a subdivision to it. I'm going to convert it to a curve. We're going to add depth to that. And I think we have the shape that we want. I'm just going to shade that smooth and see what that looks like. I think that's perfect. So we have that shape, and what we're going to do next is probably start smoothing out certain shapes, making certain shapes work. Like this, it is intersecting and it shouldn't. So I'm going to select all of these edges right here, use our proportional edit, and we're going to bring this out like so, and same applies to this GY. I'm going to reduce that GY. Okay, this is cool. I think the next thing we need to do right now is we need to do this shape. Oh, I forgot an essential part. We need this part where the kerosene or fuel is poured in to power this lantern. So for this, I can select these faces right here. I can select these faces right here. And okay. And we can insert those just like so and convert this to separate. Let's get the rotation right. So rotation is good. I can scale that down, and what we want to do is insert a little bit again, and we're going to extrude on the global Z axis, not the local, global C axis, just like so. So we have that insert going on right there. What we can now do is we can create an edge loop right here, Shift D, Z, just like so, and I can scale on the Z axis to 0. And with this, we can create the threading in there. So I can select this, scale this down a little bit, and I can reinsert into that hole. And in the edit mode, I can scale this out just like so. So we have this. What I can do next is to fill this up, select an edge loop, place it here, and with this I can extrude along normals just like so. So we have this. I will just add a subdivision to this. Come on, subdivision, and we can select these edges and start making them work properly. So for this, I can just bevel, but our bevel is not proportional, so I'm going to undo and apply scale. And we can bevel just like so. So in the front view, I can just select all this part and GZ in just like so. So that's great. I can select this edge loop right here, and we'll just create a fake screw. We can't create a real screw right now, so I can bevel, and we can extrude along normals one time and extrude along normals again. So this is great. So this part is done, except this edge right here. I feel like should have a round finish rather than this finish we have here. So I can GG, bring this out a little bit, and for this edge I can just bevel just like so. So this is good. What I just want to do is bring this up a little right there. Is great. So what I want to do next now is this outer part of the lantern. I will, in order to achieve that, I want to select this part and select the outermost vertex, and I'll bring my cursor to that point. I'll bring in a cube, go to my edit mode, select all of those points, and I will add all of it or merge all of it to the center. And with this, I can just carve out this shape. Now, the reason I'm doing it like this is because this handle part, or this outer part of this lantern, it has a unique profile that I feel like I'll be able to achieve with the curve rather than with normal topology. So I will extrude this part, extrude this right here, extrude, and I can extrude this inward just like so. So this is great. So we have this. I can convert this to a curve, apply a subdivision to it, and with that subdivision I can just use it to get the actual shape of this. I can extrude this in like so. G. Between these I can subdivide this and bring this in, and we have a good shape of that. So I can go now to this and start applying depth and working this to have a better shape. So we have something I'm pretty satisfied with for now. What I can do next is come down to profile, and we can start setting the profile of this. Now we have a beginning shape. What I want to do is add a widget to this part. We can have a bulge first to this part, so we can make it round. I want to isolate this so I can see what I'm doing properly. So we can make it a bit round. Okay. And then for this part, we want to add an edge to this part that will create a sharp line to the outer face. If you look at this, you will see there's a sharp line on the outer part. That's what that's going to do. And I can have this created here and hold this part. So now we have an actual shape to this outer part, and I'm going to use that for the other part of this profile to also get that effect to this side. So what I can do is select this. I'm going to bring this down a little, and we're going to have one more point on this side and set this profile just like so. So I think I'm pretty much good with this profile, except it looks like it needs a bit more touches. So I would select this, bring this in. I'm going to bring this so for it to look rounder. So what I can do next now is select this edge just like so, GG. I'm going to bring this down, and I'm going to V-frame this up, and with this faces selected just like so. We can extrude outward like so, scale down, extrude again, scale down, extrude and scale down finally. So we have a shape that works, only that we need to scale on the x-axis or y-axis to give this some width. So I can select this, scale on the y, select this, and that's good. So I can select these three faces, insets, and what I can do, scale this down. I can change this to a circle with our loop tool, scale down, but I want to scale down on individual origins. And from this axis, I can rotate this into position, and what we want to do is bridge. And with this bridge selected, I can select this edge, and then just bevel just like so. Okay, so we have mirrored this to the other part. I think this model is, I won't say pretty much done, except for some wiring things that I need to figure out. I think this is pretty much done. I think this part needs a bevel, so I'll select this and bevel just like so. Select this bevel just like so. And I need to do this wiring also. So what I would do, I will start from this origin point right here. I'll probably time lapse through this so that I don't waste time. It's just still the same process. I can add this to the center. Okay, so something I want to fix before we render, or maybe probably texture. I think I want to texture. I don't know. Something I want to fix before we round this up is the handle of this. So in order to get the handle, I will come here. I will bring cursor to this point right here. I will introduce a cube, switch to the vertices, and add all to center. So now that we have that, I'm going to come to the side view right here, and I'm going to start from here, G on this point. I will extrude, 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 and this I can now bring all the way down to this point. So I can GY, deselect that GY. I can extrude, extrude, extrude right here. And I think that's good. I'm going to bring cursor to the center. I'm going to bring origin to 3D cursor, and I can mirror that to the other side. So this is cool. I'm going to add a subdivision to this. But before I do anything, I need to bring this outward a little bit. GY. So this is cool. I can add the subdivision and I can convert this to a curve. Just like so. And what I want to do is shade smooth this, and I think we're pretty much done with this. I want textures on this video, but I will do the final texture behind the scene and share with you guys. So that's it, guys. So long, and until I see you in the next one. Peace.